I made a little challenge for myself. Do you think I can prove Islam to you just by talking for 5 minutes about the moon? I'm not joking, by the way, because both the Quran and the Bible made very specific claims about moonlight. And the catch is, their claims completely contradict each other. Initially, the author of Genesis claimed that God created two great lights, one light for the day and another one just like it for the night. The verse clearly represents the moon as an independent light source, just like the sun, but smaller. And this wasn't a translation quirk, because for more than 1,000 years, this is what people believed, up until the Gospel of Matthew, who explicitly wrote that the moon will keep producing its light until the day of judgment when Jesus will come back. During all of this time period, this was basic science. You look up in the sky, you see the sun as a great light bulb, and at night, you see another light bulb, you call it the moon. Simple. Now, if the Quran was just a copy-paste job from the Bible, the author would have just copied this ancient assumption, right? But instead, the Quran makes a completely different claim about moonlight. And if you guessed, it's as simple as the exact opposite, as in the Bible is claiming it has its own light, therefore the Quran will claim it is a reflection. You guessed wrong, because it's actually much more complex than that. Allah said in Surah Al-Isra that in the absolute beginning, the moon used to be a light source in itself. But then Allah put out this light. Allah shut it off. And afterwards, it became a reflection. The end result that we currently see is the sun is a radiant source of light and the moon is a reflected light. Classical scholars quoted Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma explaining this specific verse, stating that the moon used to burn and shine, but Allah erased its light and it cooled down. Let's use some basic logic here. If you're taking a math test and cheating off the guy next to you, and the guy next to you made some mistakes, you are going to copy the wrong answers too, right? If the Prophet, peace and blessing be upon him, was just copying from the Bible, he would have copied the ancient assumption that the moon has its own light. And if we say that he was purposely trying to contradict the Bible, as in, if you say left, I will just say right, to be different, then he would just say the exact opposite. What does the Bible say? It has its own light? Okay, I will say the opposite. I will say it has a reflected light. And that's it, I will stop here. But the Quran makes a very, very specific claim. It's neither agreeing with the Bible nor saying the exact opposite. It has a very specific, unpredictable scenario. And if this scenario turns out to be correct, then there is no way you can claim that the Bedouin man in the middle of the desert could have known that. I will show you how NASA proved the Quran to be correct and disproved the Bible immediately after I thank our Patreons for making this research and quality production possible. And also thank you, our viewers, for liking and sharing our videos to those who are looking for the truth. May Allah guide them to Islam through your efforts. Now let's look at the proof. Because for over 1,000 years, this was an intellectual fight between the Quran and the Bible. The biblical moon story is that it's a light source in itself, and it will keep glowing its own light until Jesus comes back. And the Quranic moon story is that it started as a burning light source itself, and then Allah shut it off, erased its light, and it became a reflection. Which book is correct and which book is wrong? Historically, it was impossible to settle this fight until NASA revealed this video, the evolution of the moon. According to modern planetary science, here is the moon in its absolute beginning, an entire global ocean of glowing molten magma. It was physically producing its own intense light. And then over millions of years, here it is losing step by step its own light, cooling down into a rocky crust and becoming a mere reflection of the sun's light. NASA just accidentally made a tafsir of Surah Al-Isra. NASA is basically doing Dawah now. And if you think that the moon was the only time the Quran corrected the biblical science, guess again. Because the same happened when the Bible claimed that the mountains are the pillars holding up the heavens. As in, if you remove the mountains, the sky will literally fall on us. When God was angry, people got terrified. Why? Because the foundations of the heavens shook. They were worried that without the foundations, the sky will I think you got it. And before you ask for the word mountain, here it is. At a time when people believed in all of that, the Quran was revealed to Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him, disagreeing with this established belief. As you can see here, Allah said that He created the heavens without pillars. And the real function of the mountain is rawasi or awtad. The first word, rawasi, refers to the heavy anchors of a ship that dig deep into the seabed to stop the ship from drifting with the ocean currents. And the second word, awtad, refers to the pegs that we drive deep into the dirt to lock a camping tent in place so it doesn't violently shake with the wind. And this was another 1,000-year-old intellectual clash between the Quran and the Bible. Are the mountains really pillars holding up the sky? Or do they look like pegs with very, very deep roots underground? And this debate was only settled by modern science, which clearly proved that there is nothing holding up the sky and there is no such thing as pillars of heaven. And also gave us all of these amazing pictures, side views of mountains, showing how the underground roots are actually much, much, much bigger than the apparent part above the ground. Take Mount Everest, for example. It extends 8.8 kilometers above sea level. That's what we see. But it extends 75 kilometers below sea level. 75 kilometers route compared to 8.8 kilometers of what we can see. And by the way, the standard width of the crust outside of the mountainous area is just 30 kilometers. So all of this part is exclusively related to the mountain itself. Compare this picture with the picture of a peg. When we were talking about this one time, I remember a Christian referring to this verse. He said, look, the word roots are there. See, it says mountain roots, therefore the Bible is saying the same thing. I told him, I'm very, very happy you mentioned this verse because it shows the difference between the biblical claim about the mountain route and the Quranic claim about the mountain route. Let's see the difference. We all know the Quran now. The route goes very, very deep underground. It resembles a pig. But according to the Bible, in the story of Jonah, when he fell in the ocean and the fish ate him in the ocean, this fish swam with Jonah inside him until it reached the water under the mountains, the mountain route. So according to this verse in the Bible, there is this water under the mountain that is somehow connected to the ocean. Give yourself a minute to imagine it. If the water under the mountain roots is connected to the ocean, the only way, the only explanation to this is that the whole earth is like a giant boat floating on this unlimited water underneath. According to the Bible, if you are very good in diving, like, a whale, you can start here at the beach and you can go down and you can go under the earth to the roots of the mountain. And if you continue swimming, you can come out from the other side. So you start from the Pacific, you get out from the Atlantic Ocean, while of course swimming under all of this land. It doesn't really seem right. Is the Bible really saying that? And it's not fair to take one verse and make an assumption on it, right? So how about that? Let's look for all of the verses that is talking about this specific topic. Because according to this verse, the Lord created the earth and everything in it. For he founded it on the seas and established it on the waters. Established the earth on the waters, on the seas. I also found this verse. It says, God spread out the earth upon what? Upon the waters. Seems like there is this unlimited water under the earth that we're floating above. The water that was under the mountain roots. And to settle this confusion forever, we just have to go back to the absolute beginning, to Genesis, to see how God created this earth. Because only there we will discover that God said, let there be a vault between the waters to separate water from water. So God made this vault and separated the water under the vault from the water above the vault and then called this middle area the sky. According to the Bible, there is this unlimited water everywhere. Unlimited water above the sky and unlimited water under the ground. And earth and the sky together are in the middle between the unlimited water above and the unlimited water under. And if you're like me wondering, what does this floating earth ship look like? It is actually described in this verse. As you can see, this ship has 4 corners, like a square. And on each corner, there is an angel that is holding this corner of the earth. So to summarize, a flat, square, very big ship that has 4 corners and 4 angels holding each corner. And it's a separation between the unlimited water above the sky and the unlimited water under the earth that you can reach if you have a whale or a submarine and you go down the ocean under the earth to the roots of the mountains like Jonah. In the middle of all of that, where people believed in this, the Quran came to describe the earth using the exact word that we use for a ball today, Qura, describing how the day and the night are wrapped around the earth the same way you can wrap something around a ball. And also claiming that if we dig very, very deep underground, we will not find water. We will find something that is very viscous, that is neither water nor a solid. Something that doesn't flow like a liquid, but sways. We know that from the word tamur, sway. Only today, modern science can confirm that Earth's crust sits on top of a mantle of superheated molten rock and magma, which perfectly fits the description of something that is very viscous, neither a solid nor a liquid, and sways. Only now modern science can confirm that the oceans are not really connected to unlimited waters that are under the mountain roots, as claimed in the Bible in the story of Jonah. Actually, this huge fire of molten rock and magma is also under the oceans. And if you're like the Arabs also wondering, how come there is fire under the water? Because, the water and fire shouldn't mix. Shouldn't the water just put off the fire and get it over with, right? Yeah, we were wondering that for more than 1,000 years. How come there is this huge fire under the sea? And every time we read this verse, we couldn't understand it. Until modern science confirmed that 75% of the world's volcanoes are actually underwater. If you still insist on rejecting the Prophet, peace and blessing be upon him, then you will have to tell me, how did this great unlettered man from the Bedouin desert of the 7th century Arabia know all of this information that we just talked about? And please don't claim that he took his shovel, digged down 75 kilometers underground to discover that mountains have very deep roots that looks like pegs. Please don't claim that he digged even further to discover that there is no unlimited water under the earth, and instead there is this substance that sways that is neither a liquid nor a solid. And please don't claim that he had wings and he used them to fly in the sky to discover that the mountains are not the pillars of heaven. Don't claim that he had NASA technology in his tent in the 7th century that helped him reconstruct the whole history of the evolution of the moon from the absolute beginning. Or at least discover that the biblical claim that it has its own light is false. Allah said in Surah Fussilat, I will show them my signs in the universe and within themselves until it becomes clear to them that this Quran is the truth. And if you heard some critics claiming that the Quran had some supposed satanic verses in it, you really need to check this video where I fully dismantled this myth. Jazakumullahu khairan. Salaam alaikum.